Good morning, children. This is English video session for class 10. The book which we are doing now is First Flight, chapter number 5. The topic name is The 100 Dresses, part 1 by Eleanor Estes. This is English video session for class 10. The book we are dealing now is The First Flight, chapter number 5, and the topic name is The 100 Dresses, part 1 by Eleanor Estes. Eleanor Estes in this describes how we judge people around us by the money, the wealth, the possession. About this, there is something called value. To look into the real personality of a person, which is most of the time ignored. It is being taken over. The values are being taken over by the wealth, the money, the show, the possessions. It is almost in the verge of extinction. Such a value need to be cherished. It should be acknowledged and it needs to be valued and not the other material comforts they enjoy. In this story, we know that how a poor girl, young girl, how it's a very common sight that has been brought by the hey shoo, ho! A poor condition of the young girl, how she is being judged by her classmates. And her name is Vanda. She is a young Polish girl who goes to the school with American children in an American town. So that change of changes in the different race, it matters a lot in other countries. It is it is too less in our place. In fact, it is almost nothing. But the different, these are the children says different. What is this different? A poor country, coming from a poor country, is a poor person. Coming from a different country, different race, colored race, it's different. So there is a lot of things that has been got into the mindset of the people, which is still going on and which we are finding it a difficult situation to erase. The moment people are judged through their values, the approach, the outlook, the opinion, the way things go would be totally different. Today, most of the countries which fight within the civil war within the country, the fights, the arguments, the debates, everything is because of this. The changes on the government and whatnot. There is always a, a scarcity to look deep into the values and the it's been ignored. It is always only the outward, the comforts or the other things that are taken and they are seen as the referential status for an individual. Okay, now I would like to go. Before we come to the real part of the thing, the Polish girl, Polish Americans, see, America itself is a place where people from various other countries migrated and settled over there. It is always said as a land of opportunities. So Poland is near it, and how people went and settled there. Let's see. The Polish American community in the United States. The first Polish immigrant arrived in America in 1608. But the largest wave of Polish immigration occurred in the early 20th century when more than 1 million Poles migrated to the United States. The Polish state did not exist at that time, and the immigrants were identified according to their country of the origin rather than of their ethnicity. They were identified as Russian Poles, German Poles, and Austrian Poles. Okay, so the Poland from people, what were they called? Russian Poles, German Poles, and Austrian Poles. Okay, one of the most notable Polish American communities is in Chicago and its suburbs. So, Chicago is sometimes called as the second largest Polish city in the world, next only to Warsaw, the capital of Poland. Polish Americans were sometimes discriminated against in the United States, as were the Irish, Italians, and the Jews. So, let's go into the deep of it. So, most of the immigrants who arrived to America in 1608, they settled as three categories, that is the Russian Poles, the German Poles, and the Austrian Poles. These were the three categories in which they were. And one of the most notable of them is the Graz group, Polish American communities in in Chicago. Okay, so what happened? A large number of people settled in Chicago, and uh, and it's the largest Polish city in the world. Warsaw is the capital of Poland, but the population of Warsaw and the number of people of Polish people in Chicago are almost the same. Okay, so discrimination of Polish. The Polish Americans were sometimes discriminated against in the United States as Irish, as were the Irish, Italians, and the Jews. According to the United States 2000 census, 6,67,414 Americans of the age below 5 years and older reported Polish as the language spoken at home, which is about 1.4% of the people who speak the languages other than English, or 0.25% of the US population. So, from this, we can understand how the greatest population, okay, like out of the 6,67,414 of the age 5 years and older reported Polish. Okay, so you can understand the number of people, and that's the language they are. Polish is the language that is spoken in the home, and 1.4% of the people who speak languages other than English. So maybe Irish, Italian language, or Jewish language. People who speak languages other than English are 0.25% of the US population. Today, Vanda Petronsky was not in her seat. We are going deep into the topic. The name of the girl is Vanda Petronsky. The day is Monday. She's not in her seat. Okay, when you are not present, it's great. It really matters for your friend. Okay, but look at the condition of Vanda Petronsky. But nobody, not even Peggy and Madeline, the girls who started all the fun, noticed her absence. So for Peggy and Madeline, it matters because they had no other person to make fun of other than the only person they had was Vanda Petronsky. Okay. Usually Vanda sat in the seat next to the last seat in the corner of the room where the rough boys who did not make good marks sat. The corner of the room where there was a scuffling of the most scuffling of feet, most roars and laughter when anything funny was said, and the most mud and the dirt of the floor. Okay, what is the last row that is there in the corner of the room got to? What is the room connected to? What are the preferences made there? So the children who don't make any good marks sat there. It's full of mud, it's full of dirt, and then it's full of laughter there, scuffling of the feet, distraction. Okay, and that is the room number 13. So this is a school, room number 13. It's Vanda's classroom. She sat in the last row on the right side. The rough boys who did not do very well in education or studies, that is, the good marks, sat. The place is noted for scuffling of the feet, roars, laughter. Anything funny was said, and the most mud and the dirt on the floor. Scuffling of the feet, noisy dragging movements of the feet on the ground. So it's not when the class is going on, or when the students are expected to show their utmost be, good behavior. The feet shouldn't be dragged, or they should not be what to say, dragged or made noise. It should be very silent. But the rough boys, always scuffled their feet. They tried to make noise, and they by dragging movements. Okay, just there was Vanda seated. Is it because Vanda is such a tough and rough girl? Definitely not. It is not that. Let's see why. Roars of laughter. The children who were totally disobedient, or who were not behaving well, sat there. But nothing, it's full of mud. It's not at all a clean place. Mud and dirt on the floor. Vanda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. On the contrary, she was quiet and rarely said anything at all. And nobody had heard her laugh out of her mouth. Sometimes she twisted her mouth in a crooked sort of smile, but that was all. Crooked sort of smile. Let's see here. We get a quality of Vanda. Vanda is quiet. This is the information we get. What does this quiet means here? She's quiet, in the sense she is not talkative, she doesn't speak to others, is well behaved, unnecessarily she doesn't talk to people. Yeah. What happens then? Was things happy for her? I doubt. Because the place which we get to know idea of how her school days. Maybe it was not a very happy school time for her. She had no friends. Maybe yes. Let's see. She rarely spoke. This is the information which we get. She rarely spoke, hardly. Okay. Nobody had ever heard her laugh. So, children itself means laughter, shouting, jumping. It's very difficult to control the children, is it not? It's not an easy thing to control the children. But here you find a girl who is totally silent. Even no one has heard her laugh. Sometimes she twisted her mouth. What did she do? She twisted her mouth in a crooked sort of smile. How? In a crooked sort of smile. But that was all. That was the only thing. Okay. Now, children, just read the first two paragraphs elaborately. Read it. Finished? Yes. Now, going to the third paragraph. Nobody knew exactly why Vanda sat in that seat, unless it was because she came all the way from the Boggin Heights and her feet were usually caked with dry mud. But no one really thought much about Vanda Petronsky once she once she sat in the corner of the room. So her presence, she comes from the place called Boggin Heights. Is it because of that she is sitting there? It is a place where they are all the feet is full of mud, dry mud. Is that the reason? Nobody, nobody really thought much about her. There was no one who took more interest or curiosity to know about her. Yes. So, at the moment she sat on the corner. The time when they thought about Vanda was outside the school hours. So always we in the school we have the recess time, then the free time, little time. The children get to come out of the classroom and they walk in the corridors. They speak to each other, friends, and nobody knows really why Vanda sat in the last seat, unless it was because she came all the way from Boggin Heights. So, what is this Boggin Heights? We have to first know what is Boggin Heights. So, Boggin Heights and her feet were usually caked with dry mud. What is there in that feet? Dry mud. Because that place, it had lot of mud. Okay. So they taught her only outside the school hours. So when the classes are on, they never bothered. So that is their study time. So they never bothered. But when she's out of the, other than that, school hours, they said. At noon, when they were coming back to the school or in the morning early, going back, when they were coming back to school or in the morning early, early before the school began, when groups of three or two or three or even more would be talking and laughing on the way to the schoolyard. So, what is that? The schoolyard. The children, until the bell rings, they uh, talk with their friends in the schoolyard. Yes, it is at that time usually that the children spoke about, they were talking about the Vanda Petronsky. Okay, they were whenever there is a group of two or three, they would be laughing and talking and laughing on their way to the in the schoolyard. Then sometimes they waited for Vanda. Okay, only to make have fun with her. They sometimes waited for her only to have. It's their pastime. In fact, they find it like the pastime whenever where she is, and to make fun of her. Clear? Yes. Please read the topic and come, children. We shall do the remaining part in the next class. It's a very elaborate portion. You have to learn the different Polish backgrounds settled in America and come to the next class. Okay, with this I stop. Thank you.